With decades of knowledge in the luxury consumer goods sector and a deep understanding of the Indian consumer and the jewelry market. Today, we will view the market through his eyes. We are very excited to have him here today. Welcome Mr. Sachin Jain, the Regional CEO of World Gold Council India to SVAR Talkshow.
First and foremost, my big thanks to SVAR as a very important platform of the industry to invite me and interact with all of you, our audience, my partners, the industry that I'm very proud of. So thank you.
It's our pleasure, Sachin. We would like to know, how excited are you to interact with me, world's first AI anchor of our industry?
Well, I'm very happy and I would say excited to actually interact with a robotic conversation. And I'm so happy to interact with Swara, which I think really reflects what future is. And I hope that as Swara Media, you're taking the first step towards bringing contemporary and modern conversations to our industry. And I think more and more of these things should happen because that's going to be a way of life. So I'm very happy and pleased.
Thank you for your kind words. So, Sachin, coming to our talk show, as a new regional CEO of World Gold Council India, how do you foresee the growth of Indian gold industry in the year 2024?
The way I see the future of the gold industry is what I call is gold will be the new gold. And from my perspective, it has a lot of context, a lot of definition, a lot of future that we knew. So starting from the jewelry side of it, as we move into the next phase of developing this market, we need to do a lot of work, keeping in mind the young audience that will become the majority of the consuming class of gold and of our products in the coming time. So for me, that will be an important area. The crux of this will be transparency, integrity, a way to operate, which is where you can put your hand on your heart and say, we're a part of something great, which I'm sure we are, but we need to tell our stories much strongly to the end consumers and really create magical products, which when the consumer looks at them, they say, wow, and we need to own them and they aspire to own our products. So I see a great potential, great future of our business, but I think these will be the building blocks and strong pillars of a great industry to the future.
All right, so recently, Sachin, what the industry has observed is a lot of turmoil in the gold prices. How do you feel the market will react to it?
Well, I think it's always good to see a perspective and see what's going on. So let's reflect on what happened in quarter 1 of gold demand in 2024. Now, quarter 1 in India has been a phenomenal response that we got from a demand point of view. And let's reflect a few more details. So the demand grew well, but we ended the year with about 75,000 crores of business of value of gold that got consumed. Now there were 3 or 4 pillars of it. Firstly, the demand for jewelry, even with the high prices, and we saw that in February there was a price dip. That's when we saw accentuation happen. The value increased by about 10 to 12%. We saw that the government buying of gold has been consistent. So quarter 1 itself was about 19 tons that the RBI bought. Compare that to 2023, the entire year when they bought 16 tons. The third that we saw a phenomenal growth was the bar and coins growth, where from a volume point of view, the quarter 1 grew by about 19%, but the value grew by 32%, which is significant. And lastly, from a financial instruments point of view, the ETF also we saw a bit of an up. Now, what does this really mean? Leave aside the past 6 to 7 weeks of what went up and down. What this really means is the fundamentals of what the gold does to, let's say, a nation, to a consuming class, all those fundamentals are very strong. And the outer fundamentals of geopolitics, which is kind of a little uncertain, and all of this also remain around. Now, the turmoil that you mentioned that's happening certainly isn't healthy for any business, certainly not good for the business of gold at all. And I'm sure none from the industry would want any turmoil and very sudden ups and downs to happen. But if you reflect upon the consistency by which gold has delivered on returns and growth, I think those are things to be seen as important. Our projection is that the consumption for gold in India could, by the end of the year, could be anywhere from 700 tons to 800 tons. 700, if there's very high volatility, things go still very up and down, price shoots up further. And 800 tons if there's still more stability and a slight increase of price that we see. So we all is up to see. However, one important thing that happened was Akshaya Tritiya, which is very significant in the annual calendar for India as a consumption. If you might remember, April the prices went up. The retail stores were very slow. The walk-ins were very low at that point in time, and we saw while the price of gold sort of corrected a little bit end of April, beginning of May, we saw a phenomenal response of that slight change in the consumer response on the floors. This time, Akshaya Tritiya on the 10th of May was a very strong Akshaya Tritiya overall. We saw a consumption happen and almost an acceptance of a certain level of 70,000 plus level of a pricing by the Indian consumer. So I think if you look at all of this in perspective and totality, I think it's a very going to be a very healthy and a strong year for gold from an Indian domestic consumption.
Let's hope for 800 tons and beyond for India in 2024. Coming to our next question, the World Gold Council emphasizes on sustainability and responsible practices. How would you promote these values in the industry?
I think these sustainable practices and healthy practices, transparency and integrity form a core pillar of the working and the thought process of World Gold Council. And not because that we want to do as an organization, but we want to make an impact in the wider industry because that's how we will have to operate if we have to succeed. Now let's reflect of where we are as a country. Right, we are at a juncture of a new government getting formed. A whole direction of travel from an Indian perspective is that we will move from a developing nation to a developed nation. Okay, now it's very significant. 2047 is the roadmap laid by our current Prime Minister of Viksit Bharat 2047, which means that we will there's a plan to be a $35 trillion economy. Today we are a $4 trillion economy, or even lesser. Now, just keep in perspective that what it means. It means the massive growth that's coming up. It means that growth will happen from a perspective of consumption. But we as an industry might not like the word regulator. But if we have to grow in a healthy manner, we need a very strong regulator and a governance in our business that points out things that are incorrect and points or directs the whole business to a thing towards a direction that's correct. Now, and hence, because these become fundamental of how the new age consumer and how people will invest and consume our category. The way we see it as World Gold Council is, and the tangible action that we're taking in starting 2024 is the establishment of the first self-regulatory organization in our industry. Now, let me explain to you what is a self-regulatory organization. For every important industry, there is an industry and there is a regulator, and in between sits a self-regulatory organization which is somewhere in between. And what it does is it defines a code of conduct, independence, and a confidence to both sides of this fulcrum that people who are part of this sort of conduit are doing the business in a correct manner. And in our business, while on one hand we are a very massive business, I think 4 to 5 to 6 lakh crore gets transacted in our business annually. But importantly, we are a very fragmented business. We are lakhs and lakhs of jewelers. There are multiple, bullion traders and manufacturers and so on and so forth, and it's quite fragmented. But the future will be a healthy future when we have certain principles on which we as an industry come together. Hence, we are establishing the first SRO where we are putting the seed, we'll be supporting it. It's going to be an industry initiative, and there'll be an audit framework laid out for every participant. And you don't need to be a very big jeweler or a very small jeweler. It could be anybody in the industry. You could be a part of it. And then you will earn a mark from this self-regulatory organization. It's a mark that we celebrated, and you can use that mark in your communication in everywhere. And we as World Gold Council will ensure that the consumer in India gets to know the people and the members who should be celebrated because they do they run the business in a certain manner. So a very tangible step for the industry, initiated by it's an initiative by the industry, supported by the World Gold Council, will be the self-regulatory organization, which actually encapsulates all the two things that you asked, sustainability and right practices. So it'll be in action.
And how soon can we expect it to be unveiled?
So we intend to unveil this at the IHS show on August 8th.
We will be eagerly looking forward to it. Sachin, As India is one of the leading countries in the manufacturing of gold jewelry across the world, how do you plan to promote the export of jewelry?
I think it's a great question, and I think all of us as an industry needs to put our head together and see where the opportunities lie. Now, broadly, if you see, we import roughly about 800 tons, and we export only about 100 tons of gold, and balance, of course, gets consumed here. But I'm certain that if we focus on this area of export, whether it's a gap in the consumption design, whether it's a gap in technology that we can do over here, or production. And I can tell you the entrepreneurial spirit of India, and coming from the diamond business, I can tell you there is a great entrepreneurial spirit in India, where if there's an opportunity, we will do the right investments and make the right changes. So I'm very confident of that. Being an Indian and being a part of our industry for long, I'm confident of that. So the key is to really, over the next some months, find those things and really take strong, concrete steps, how we identify actionable steps to be taken to improvise this. And the wider subject also is that, is there a merit in promoting Indian type jewelry or Indian kind of jewelry overseas, which becomes a slightly more bigger subject, because that will mean buying of brands and so on and so forth. But I think certainly what, as World War Council, we'll be trying to put together a paper which gives a clear roadmap as to what can be done to improvise and accentuate the exports of gold jewelry out of India.
Together, hopefully, we will be able to reduce the gap between the imports and exports of gold. Sachin, with the younger generation shifting their interest from physical gold to digital gold, how do you plan to promote gold jewelry?
Well, I think the first and foremost is the understanding and conviction that that's the way forward. And I'm glad that you're saying that is already happening. And when you see an India, which by end of this year, by 31st December 2024, almost three-fourths of India will be millennial or younger. So hence our consumer will be more younger, and we need to be getting ready. And the fact is that if majority of the consumer are living the life on this, then we as an industry need to talk to them with solutions based on this. So I think digital gold, whether consumed in the form of jewelry, financial assets, and other instruments, it's all the way they're consuming, because they're spending their life on mobile phones and technology. And as an industry, we need to buckle up our socks or our belts and offer them solutions which make sense. Now, to your question on jewelry, the way we see it is that you just look around the lifestyles of younger consumers. If you look at women today who are young in a consuming class, they are doing a multifaceted role. They're in the morning they're dropping the kids to school, they're running their offices, doing work, and then meeting friends in the evening. So it's a lot of things that are happening in their life which perhaps earlier weren't happening. And also simplicity in the way they exercise is a way of life. And I'm not just referring to the top metros. I'm talking about smaller towns as well, because lifestyles are evolving everywhere else, and that'll have a direct impact on how accessorization and consumption of bigger pieces will happen, right? So whether it'll become focus on very festive occasions or weddings and so on and so forth. But I think there's a great area of development, and all of us will have to put our energies on daily wear, simplicity, and match to the lifestyle of where the consumer is, and work out ways by which we can give them solutions and give them sort of almost directions of travel. Then they come asking for it. We should be ready and anticipating those changes. So we will have to do a lot of work in offering products via technology, and I think we'll have to do a lot of work in modernizing our offering via design.
Lovely. Now, Sachin, we have reached to our rapid fire section, where you have to be very crisp and quick while answering. So, which is your favorite sport?
My most favorite sport is long distance running, if that's a sport. But yeah,
Are you a voracious reader?
I am.
And which book are you reading?
Well, my favorite book, and I read it very often, is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. He's the founder of Nike, and it's an amazing story how he really thought of doing something new, finding shoes, fighting amongst the big dogs of the world, and then making one of the most important brands that has been established in the history. And I would recommend that book strongly to your audience and your viewers.
One bucket list item that you would like to fulfill in 2024?
Well, not 24, but if you allow me 2 more years of that, so trying 2025, but if it spills over 26, that'll be okay. is is my intent to be an Ironman runner or Ironman sort of participant.
Which is the best compliment that you have ever received from the people around you?
Well, I think I've got. I mean, I've been very lucky, and with the graciousness of God, I've received a lot of compliments. But I think one that I completely relate to is that is the humility and the excitement I bring on the table. So I relate to both of these things, and I live to both these things.
Which is the best advice that you have ever received?
Well, one of the best advices I've received is actually through one of my uncle who did really well in his life, and he was in the government circuits, did very well. And on one of his 75th birthday, I was sitting with him, and you all try to at times get the advices of peril and the pearls of wisdom and so on and so forth. So he told me that there are two things that actually work, and we overcomplicate things. And he said one is use common sense through your life, which is difficult, right? It's not easy. Common sense means different things to people, but apply common sense, you'll have the right solutions, and you'll perhaps make better decisions. And the second he said is about relationships. And if you can have relationships that last long, and you can nurture relationships, that's it sort of transforms over a period of time who you are and what your impact is, and also what you are. So I guess for me those two simple advices have been very powerful. What I've sort of tried to lead things through, and hence particularly on the second one, which is my relationship. So I do think that's something that can be cultivated. It's something that you have to put energy behind. You have to put time out and keep nurturing relationships. And they of course, as you grow forward in life, they really pay off. I'm thankful to the Almighty that I'm back in or continuing to be in this industry with a slightly different sort of objectives and slightly different way of industry. Very excited to be here, and I really think that our industry is at the fulcrum of a phenomenal growth, and it'll be in our hands. We will make it happen. The time is now, and the time is for India. So people in this business, if we can do the right things, lay down, be open on creativity, try new things. There is no way why by which what we're doing today, and I would want everybody to look at their turnovers, their whatever. But imagine if today was 24th of May, 2034. What would you like to be, or what would you be, and then work backwards. 99% chances are you make it happen. That's the current environment of India. We should all go full in.
Let's hope together we will make it happen. With this, Sachin, we come to an end of this exciting and very insightful rapid fire section. Thank you so much, Sachin. It was a pleasure chatting with you on our SVAR talk show.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to all of you to what you have achieved in a very short span of time.
Really means a lot. Thank you so much.